time, we'll call the first regular meeting of the Pike County Fiscal Court for October 2021 to order. As we always do, I'd like to ask everyone to turn their cell phones on silent or turn them off. We've got some very important issues. I'm not sure how long the meeting's going to take. We have some issues that are very important to the taxpayers of the county, and we need to move through this as fast as we can. I have Mr. Johnny Dennison, who is under deadlines in his office, so we're going to get him up here first. So at that time, I'd like to ask Mr. Nee Jackson if he would come up and say the invocation. Mr. Sloan, I'll ask you if you would to do the benediction this evening, sir.
Shall we bow for prayer? Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just come to you now, Lord. Just first of all, thanking you so much for your Son Jesus, who died on that cross that each and every one of us could have eternal life. Lord, we just pray that you bless this board, dear Lord, and Lord, that everything that they say and do, dear Lord, that they would do in a way that be pleasing unto you, dear Lord. Lord, we just pray that you continue to be with the people of our nation, dear Lord. Lord, that we might be one nation under God, dear Lord, and that we would seek your face before we do things that affect each and every one of us on a daily basis. Lord, we just ask that you watch over each and every Pike County resident, dear Lord. Bless this court, dear Lord, and the decisions that they make. Lord, that we would conduct ourselves in a way to be pleasing unto you. Lord, we just ask these things in your precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Judge Jones.
Present.
Commissioner Robertson.
Here.
Commissioner Tackett.
Here.
Commissioner Booth.
Here. We have a quorum, and we are ready to proceed. And I'd like to ask Mr. Johnny Dennison if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the September 7th, 2021 and September 13th, 2021 meetings of the Pike County Fiscal Court. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robertson. Any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson.
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett.
Yes.
Commissioner Booth.
Yes.
Judge Jones.
Yes. First, I would like to go a little bit out of order. I would like to ask Mr. R.J. Palmer to come up. He is our financial advisor with Compass Municipal Advisors, who is working on the bond issue that will take place probably next year. R.J., you can come up here and sit if you like. It's just a little easier. That way we got the camera on it. And I'd also like to ask Mr. Johnny Dennison, who's the chairman of the Mountain Water District Board of Directors, to come up because a portion of this conversation does have to do with the ARP money, the American Relief Plan money that the Biden administration ushered through, that does have the potential to be a positive for Pike County. RJ, please just take a moment to introduce yourself, and then I'll sort of explain what you have approached us about and why you think it's necessary.
Okay. Thank you, Judge. Members of the court, appreciate the opportunity to be here with you tonight. My name's R.J. Palmer. I'm with Compass Municipal Advisors, and we've met with the court before. But again, we provide financial advisory services to municipalities across the state, including cities, counties, school districts, not-for-profits, and special purpose governmental entities. We've done a number of projects actually in Pike County over the years, but tonight in particular I wanted to kind of come up and discuss an ARPA program that we have put together, because this is obviously a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, I think, not only for Pike County but for cities and counties across the Commonwealth, and to attempt to help you all navigate what to this point has been some pretty vague guidelines from Treasury on what you can and cannot spend money for, and how you would go about doing that. So that's the main purpose, I think, of our visit tonight, and
Now,
I defer to you, Judge.
and let me say this. It's my understanding that your firm is working in conjunction with a large Kentucky-based law firm because of the tax and auditing requirements. So when basically we received a check for $5 million and change. And they said, it came straight to the county's treasury, or treasurer. There'll be another similar check coming. But there are very stringent limitations on what the money can be used for. It can't be used for roads and bridges. It can't be used for general operating. It can't be used for construction except for water and sewer and broadband projects.
That's correct.
It can be used for some correctional services, but it has been the opinion of the court that we need to take care of some of our major infrastructure needs. There's areas that are unserved with water. We are working with Mr. Dennison and the board and management at Mountain Water because their water loss is still well in excess of the permissible limits set forth by the PSC. One of the things that we can do with the ARP money is to use it for replacement of lost revenue that the counties received. When Mr. Stacy looked at it, he said, well, I'm not sure we can show a loss of revenue, but the rules are so complicated that we didn't feel comfortable trying to come up with these calculations.
Mm-hmm.
And the calculations that you and your company have put together in conjunction with consulting attorneys, you're pretty confident that we can demonstrate a substantial amount of lost revenue under their guidelines and policies. Is that a fair statement?
I think that's absolutely a fair statement, and you're correct. It is. I want to go back to one statement you made about the Treasury wiring you $5.2 million.
And not tell us any guidelines or what we can or
Typically,
can't.
that's kind of how we got to this point. Typically those type of funds would be disseminated through the Department for Local Government through Frankfurt, and that would be a point of contact for our cities and counties to use as assistance in determining how to deal with these funds. This particular grant did not do that. It came straight to the county. And we started receiving phone calls when people first started receiving their funds saying, can you provide assistance? And that's where this really all started. And one of the main things that we wanted to look at that you alluded to is the revenue loss. And it's complicated and convoluted because, number one, you're calculating a base year revenue number that's based on fiscal year 19. And that's kind of our starting point. You're comparing that to calendar year 20. Well, you don't file anything on a calendar year basis. You file everything on a fiscal year basis. So right out of the gate in Kentucky, we're scrambling a bit to try to put together that data. So what we have done is to request quarterly financials of the county that you file with the Department for Local Government to try to piece together a calendar year revenue picture and then compare that to the fiscal year 2019 base revenue number. Based upon our preliminary calculations, we think that you're probably in excess of $4 million in revenue loss that the county will be able to demonstrate to Treasury.
Yeah, and when we looked at this, and I'm an attorney, but as you know, I'm a litigator. I'm not a tax lawyer. Colonel Downey's got a lot of experience in a lot of different areas. He's not a tax lawyer. Kevin Keene, the county attorney, is not a tax lawyer. I mean, we have a CPA, accountant. I guess Frankie's license are in abeyance, but he's was a licensed CPA who's the county treasurer. But not very many counties have someone with his background, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
Very few counties have someone who's had a CPA license as county treasurer. And, you know, we've got quality people, but when you look at these regulations, I would feel more comfortable if we've got somebody that if they screw it up, I can say, hey, RJ, you messed up here. Because the one thing we don't want to do is, you know, most of this money is going to be spent for water and sewer. But one of the reasons I called Johnny 5 minutes ago and asked him to come over after we had a brief conversation, and Johnny's right in the middle of the fall tax season, and we won't take too much of his time. So Mountain Water, we've appropriated of that CARES Act money about $1.331 million.
Mm-hmm.
They have a large problem with water loss, and you know this is something that we dealt with across Kentucky.
Sure.
When you were in the legislature, I was in the legislature, and one of the problems is most districts didn't put any money aside across the state. You know the situation in Martin County has been pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to put a surcharge on, and you know, with the economy here, we're thinking, can we help the ratepayers, the customers of Mountain Water, and help the Mountain Water Administration deal with this, where we start tackling this water loss? And one of the board members had a proposal: let's buy 3 spreads of equipment and hire employees. But based on our conversation, that is not permissible under the ARPA guidelines. Is that
I would be reluctant to do that because you're in excess of the $500,000, which is obviously is the threshold for federal procurement laws that once you meet that, there are significant bidding instructions they want you to follow, right? And when you're giving your money to Mountain Water, they then become a subrecipient, which means that they will have to adhere to the Treasury guidelines just like Pike County would. So I think it's cleaner that we issue an RFP and bid this out, and then once we...
Okay, that's Johnny. That was been their intention, but I just wanted to make sure that Johnny was aware that they would have to do this subrecipient agreement if we do this, because and I'll give Johnny a copy of these resolutions here, or if somebody can pull them out of their packet and give it to him while I'm still looking at it.
There's not a subrecipient agreement in the packet because
Okay,
those
but
are...
I'll give him a copy of the general agreement because.
Right, but the subrecipient agreements will be tailored specifically to projects between, you know, a county and some other third-party entity, you know, whoever that may be.
I've got an extra
they'll be
copy.
specific to each project.
Here, I've got a copy right here for Johnny. I got it. Yeah, just give it either one. So as you understand this, we would have to comply on the procurement
Mm-hmm.
of any construction projects for water and sewer with the federal procurement code as well as the state procurement code.
Right, the federal procurement code is a little different, and within the packet that the court has tonight, there is a procurement policy that Stites has prepared for counties across the state for them to consider adopting, just because of the differences in federal procurement laws versus what the state requires.
Yeah, I want to just go back to what we talked about with the first round of coronavirus, the CARES Act money.
Mm-hmm.
The CARES Act money went to the Department of Local Government, and they distributed it to the counties on a reimbursement basis.
Correct.
So when we were able to show a loss, or we were able to show that we've incurred expenditures for sanitizing facilities, and then when they changed it to where we could recover certain expenses for correctional facilities, and that changed as it went along.
It did.
There's been some talk about the uses of this money changing as it went along, but that's not happened as it did with the CARES Act under the Treasury guidance. But the problem here for counties, and it's probably been good for your company, but for the first round of funding, we could call DLG. I could call Matt Stevens, who you and I both know well, is General Counsel of the Department of Local Government. We could call people like Billy Renee Johnson if we had questions, people that we could get answers from and guidance. The concern that I have with going this alone, not being an expert in this field of law, because it is vague as you described, would be that if we spent money, a substantial amount of money, and it wasn't done properly, and they audited you, then you end up, they said, we want our $2 million back.
Right.
And it's probably could be long after I'm out of office or these other gentlemen may be out of office. I don't want to see a future administration have to deal with that issue. So if we could prevent it on the front end, and I think it's important for the public to know this, and Mr. Sloan addressed this in an article for the News Express, a previous administration on a project that had federal funding did not properly procure the construction management. I think, is that right, Jimmy? They did not properly procure the construction management, which was an engineering firm. Well, under the Kentucky Model Procurement Code, you don't have to bid out or do an RFP or score professional services such as accountants, financial advisors, lawyers, engineers, or
Correct.
CPAs, those types of things. Under the federal rules, you do. And because a previous administration didn't comply with those federal procurement guidelines, the county missed out. Was it 145,000 or so, Jimmy? So, I mean, so if you lose out 145,000 on the Pompey Road project, when there's nowhere near as much money at stake, and then you're dealing with, $11 million with all the strings attached, I just don't feel comfortable doing this without professional guidance and professional legal guidance on this.
And we have been waiting for final Treasury guidelines since August. That's initially when they said they would be able to have those for us and for you all. They pushed that back to September, and then they pushed it back to October. And then last week, I'm sure you saw that your October 31 reporting deadline got pushed to January, and now you're going to report expenditures through the end of the year. I would guess that that's an indication that final guidelines have been pushed back once again. That's why they moved the filing report. So, we're still going under temporary guidelines, and it has been our advice, and will continue to be, that unless it is very clear to be an allowable expenditure,
Water,
we don't
sewer,
broadband, lost revenue, that we wait until final guidelines are approved.
One of the problems with RJ, with the broadband issue, is if you've got $11 million to cover replacement of lost revenue, water and sewer needs in a system, and parts of it are older than we are, that no money's been set aside. We did our phase 2 feasibility study under the Kentucky Wired program. It's $150 million plus to do the parts of Pike County don't have service.
Right.
Well, the only other pools of money out there usually are like the state pools, a 50-50 match. Well, if you took all 11 million,
you get $22 million.
You got $22 million. That's 20% of the, not even 20% of the total cost to do what needs to be done. So, it would just be a very piecemeal approach to try to use this money for broadband without having a public-private partnership where you had, the people with the expertise to design and construct. So that's why we're focused on water and sewer. But I really want Johnny to come over to talk to you, and in that way you all can get in touch with each other. Johnny's got and Johnny, you all, well, RJ, they'll have to adopt this same procurement code for ARP money. Is that correct?
They will likely have to adopt that code as the water district.
They'll have to adopt this modified procurement code for purposes. They can do it only for purposes of the ARP money expenditures.
Correct.
And then as I understand it, your fee is 1.5% of what is drawn down.
What is expended, that's correct.
Okay. So would that be just once the money's dispersed to Mountain Water, then you all will be paid? Because that was one of the issues too, is when some of this money is going to go to Mountain Water. I think Elkhorn City has a project that needs to be funded. We want a set of eyes to look at the money. Not that I don't trust Johnny, I trust him with my taxes. But, when you've got these independent boards that are spending this money, I just think it gives some oversight and a set of independent eyes looking at it to make sure that we're doing it right.
That's correct. And again, they have to adhere to the same guidelines as what the county does for expending the funds. And one of the things that we also contemplate in the program is, as you kind of alluded to, it's to create a process that we will follow, right? Each time that we're going to expend dollars from the ARPA funds. And page 4 of that handout that I think the court has is actually an expense approval form that we have created with Stites.
Okay.
And the way we think that would work, and it has been working, is once you identify a project,
Can you tell me what page that is?
it's the 4th page of the handout that I gave you.
So the first page is just the cover page, then you've got the
resolution.
the resolution.
And then right after that is the expense approval form. So you identify the project that you want to expend ARPA funds for. Give us a description of that, and if it's like this, a water project with Mountain Water, the procurement process, we will review that. We will send that to Stites for their review. They will identify the eligible Treasury expense area that is applicable to the project. You will sign off on it, the court signs off on it, Stites signs off on it. Thereafter, it is our intention to help you with the record retention, because that's the other thing with this that's different from the CARES money. It's pretty stringent on what you have to record as far as where we spent the money. And you have to maintain those records in case someone does come in and audit the funds. So even with Mountain Water, they would have to provide to you or to us the proof of expenditures of the dollars associated with the project.
Yeah. And you know, what we've talked some conversations about whether, you know, we would reimburse Mountain Water, but if they're going to bid it out, then what essentially we would be doing is just paying the installments on the contract as they're done.
That's
And
correct.
then I know Johnny will be happy to give us copies of the expenditure form, and you, but I think, you know, and Johnny and I have had the similar conversations about this because of concerns over how we're going to make sure we're not creating a big problem. Yeah, I personally don't think when they've given out $3 trillion or whatever it was in this round of funding, how they're ever going to be able to go out here and audit every state, county, and municipality in the country. I mean, if they start doing that,
I would completely agree with you, but I'd also hate to draw the short straw and not have my ducks in a row.
that's exactly right. And, you know, messing this up could really create major financial problems for the county in the future. And we're not going, that's happened on issues here in the past, as you well know. There's a couple things I want to talk to you about after we cut Johnny loose here. So let's do this. Is there a motion? Let me back up. Do y'all have any, I know y'all have questions and comments,
Questions.
but
If your company takes care of, does all this, and say that we spent money that the government comes up and says you wasn't allowed to spend it there, who is responsible for paying that money back?
Well, obviously, the way that's going to work is the Treasury's going to come to you first. And then, obviously, you would, in turn, come to me and say, you and Stites said this was okay. And, you know, it's going to be litigation, Judge, as you know.
well,
The intent of this is that we want to make sure that you have an approval process with other eyes looking over these dollars, particularly the lost revenue calculation.
I guess the
That if
reason
somebody
that-
comes in, you have the ability to say, here's our expense approval form. Here is the calculation from our financial advisor. Here is the review of outside counsel, and here is all the expenditures, record retention that you required, Mr. Inspector General. We disagree.
I guess is the reason we just said in this class when we went to our commissioner conference in Lexington. And it was a 3-hour, we sat in there for 3 hours and went over just exactly what you're talking about here. And he said, be very cautious until all the rules come down where you spend your money at and what you do. Because if you spend this money and it wasn't spent where it's supposed to, they're going to come looking for the court to pay this money back.
That is correct.
And I think, first of all, okay, I wouldn't take the liability that your company is taking because I mean, for what you're getting paid, it's a massive, I mean, because, you know, if you gave advice to a client or legal advice to a client that was incorrect and they relied on that to their detriment, then then you're opening I mean, you're taking on a lot of liabilities, a fair statement.
I think that's a fair statement.
But that's what you do for a living.
That's correct.
So,
And it's someone to help share the liability, I think, or else, you know, counties in Kentucky would be going this alone.
well,
And
if you've
I
got-
think that's dangerous.
if you've got a respected law firm with tax lawyers,
Mm-hmm.
financial advisors, you're licensed by the SEC.
That's correct.
If you've got people like that have looked over it and attested to it, if you do get audited and there's a question, that gives you a legitimate argument by other people who have expertise that it was a legal expenditure. If you are a fiscal court without that expertise and you make the expenditure, you don't have anybody to back you up in an audit. Is that a fair? Johnny knows what that would be in an audit.
Yeah, so he told us that you're probably looking first of the year before you get final guidance. And he said, I wouldn't touch none of this money or make any kind of obligation on any of this until January 1. I mean, they kept making sure that we understood that when we was down in class. Don't do nothing until January 1. Because it's going to take that long for them to tell you what you can and cannot do.
Well, the project that we have approved for Mountain Water District, it's going to take them a while to get that even ready to put it out for RFP and bid it.
It will.
Probably first of the year because you're already up into October. But we know if it's water and sewer infrastructure, that it is clearly legal expenditure if it's procured properly.
Yeah, we discussed that in the class down there, because some of the commissioners and magistrates wanted to buy new backhoes and haul these employees, and he said, absolutely not. You can rent it, or you can hire a contractor, but you can't buy new equipment and hire new employees. I mean, he made that clear in the class down there,
That's
because
what I've said all
it-
along.
We can actually charge for the rental value of the equipment we have.
I will defer to counsel on that. I've not had that question yet, Johnny, but we'll find out that answer.
Johnny, I don't know that you could do, again, that's one of those things for final guidance. And your project's gonna be a multi-year project.
It is.
And, you know, as hard up as a lot of construction companies are for work right now, because there's not, and RJ probably sees this as much as anybody, there's not been a lot of big water and sewer projects in eastern Kentucky counties for some time. There's going to be a lot of competition for that business, and I think you're going to get a pretty good bang for your buck, at least on that initial round.
And from my understanding, what they told us, well, you got 2024, 2026 to spend this money in?
You have 5 years to expend the money. You
Yeah,
have
up to
4 years
20
to
up to-
obligate it and 5 years to spend it.
That's what he told us.
You don't
But
have,
I-
yeah.
Well, I mean, it
Correct.
just, we spent 3 hours in there going over this, and they kept explaining it to everything that you
They
just
kept
talked
driving
about.
it in our
Driving
head.
it in your head.
Yeah.
And the,
It seems
he
to work.
yeah, he did, because, I mean, he said, you are liable.
Yeah.
And he said, I would not make no kind of obligation to nobody until we get the final drawdown, and it's probably gonna be the first of the year. And I mean, he just kept punching that in her head.
Well, here's the
I won't
problem.
disagree with
Here's
that.
the problem with the final guidance, though. If the final guidance is as vague as the initial guidance, it's not going to clear up anything. I mean, if you look,
That's why you got another set of eyes looking at it.
well, if it's like you go to Johnny's office and you look at all the tax code books and the interpretation of the opinions that interpret IRS code sections. I mean, you can have, Johnny's fair say, like on those Treasury, you could have 2 or 3 different judges look at them and have different interpretations of the.
That happens all the time.
Yeah, because they was wanting to buy fire trucks and ambulances and backhoes, and I mean, it was a good class. I'll say it was probably, 3 hours long and stuff. But, I mean, he had my attention when he was going through it all, and it's, he had my attention.
Kept stressing that we would have to pay it back.
Yes.
But the big thing here is if we can, once we get the final guidance, recover lost revenue, that could help stabilize the county's finances, to make sure that we don't have a problem with what we're getting ready to talk about here in a minute. But you two can get together and talk about
He's got
this
my
water
card.
project.
We will.
All right, Mr. Dennison, thank you,
I
sir.
want to, one clarification point on the lost revenue. You can identify the loss of revenue, then we also have to identify general governmental services within the existing budget that we're applying that lost revenue to. So there is another identification of general fund expenditures that we will have to make. In your budget, that won't be an issue. But that's one extra step that we will, want to show.
Yeah,
In case somebody goes back and looks and says, because there's still some no-nos, things that are excluded, particularly debt service payments and pensions, out of even the lost revenue funds. So we want to show Treasury, here's where we're putting our lost revenue. But you'll have general fund dollars budgeted for that, so then those could be moved.
Understood. Judge Hickman.
RJ, with your experience so far, what percentage of this entire program you think has clarity?
Oh my goodness, less than 10%.
Less than 10% clarity?
The
at
only
this point?
clarity we have right now is we know what everybody got for the first round. That's it.
They told us that, and they said the next thing was park and recreations, did they not?
Yeah.
Parks and recreation was the second. It was that far. The first round is and the second was, because they said the government wants you to be able, where this coronavirus is indoors, to be able to be outdoors, and whatever you do outdoors would be covered.
Well, but that goes back to the coal severance tax mindset of using severance tax for recreation. I mean, when that money's gone, let's go say we build a bunch of ball fields and pickleball courts and things like that, the CARES Act money goes, or the ARP money goes away. Now, how do you take care of them and maintain it?
That was also brought up, but they said it was fairly clear that anything that you spend outdoors is covered because they want you to be outdoors instead of indoors as much as possible. I listened good to that class now. It was like I said, it might have been 3 hours, but
there are some exceptions to that.
They had my attention.
There are some ways to do that, but it's not everywhere. Like there's also provisions in the law for qualified census tracts.
That's just like they even come up and said you could spend money on fans because it helped ventilate.
Correct.
What about qualified census tracts? I'm not sure I even understand what that is. Where you're talking about economic development projects in those opportunity zones or those.
Yeah, the guidelines are a little.
Angel investors and those kind of things, and
If you can show that you have a project that is servicing a qualified census tract, the guidelines change a little more. So,
You correct me if I'm wrong, but they told us that if you had a problem with air, that it would cover fans to put in there to move the air around.
I've had to this point one HVAC replacement that was requested. It wasn't approved because it did not have the filtration system that would qualify it for a COVID mitigation HVAC system. So, obviously they could have changed that, Commissioner, but they'd already begun the process and they didn't want to stop. But there's lots of little nuances like that within the guidelines, and again, some of that's what I've learned from the lawyers, right? Since I'm not the lawyer, but we defer those to them.
I guess that's the reason why they had an attorney in there and was to explain it.
That's
to us
right.
while we was in the class.
Thank you,
All right.
Judge.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, John.
All right, so is there a motion to adopt the agreement and the policy resolution to retain Compass Municipal Advisors and Stites Harbison to oversee the expenditure as described by Mr. Palmer for it's basically a 1.5 fee that can be paid from the ARPA money, correct? Won't come out of the county's budget.
That's correct.
Would there be a motion to approve the agreement?
This is something we don't have to bid out or anything, we can just do it, I mean.
We don't have to bid this out under the procurement code because it's,
Correct.
yeah, we don't have to bid that out. The consultation. Legal services doesn't have to be, and neither, I think, does.
That's right.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robertson. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett,
Yes.
Commissioner Booth,
Yes.
Judge Jones.
Yes. The last 8 pages of this document is the procurement policy. Let me back up. We have the fund expenditure approval form and the schedules for that. Would there be a motion to adopt that form for use for each of the expenditures that are made from the ARP money that we would seek approval for? Would there be a motion?
What's this on, Judge?
Just to adopt this form for use for the
On the
expenditure.
last page of this?
No, it's after that, it's pages, it's this page right here that says American Rescue Plan Act State and Local Physical Expenditure Fund Expenditure Approval Form. It's got a 2-page schedule that you would categorize it, and then that the Compass and Stites would review. It would be the 4th page of the packet. Starts on the 4th page of that.
It might help with this clarification, Judge, on who compiled this, maybe. RJ, who compiled these pages right here?
We created the form with Stites to, again, create a process for how we're going to
Do you
approve
understand what I'm
things.
talking about?
Yeah.
So.
The next 3 pages are the expense categories that have been published by Treasury.
This is just the form, Ronnie, that we would submit the expenditures on for Stites and Palmer to review, that they would keep copies of, and that way that they've got records and we have records.
Okay.
I'm not sure we needed to adopt it, but I thought we would go ahead and just.
Okay, that's good.
So is there a motion to adopt this expenditure approval form in the 2-page schedule?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tackett. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett,
Yes.
Commissioner Booth,
Yes.
Judge Jones.
Yes. Now, the next one that we have it's just page 1, and it goes over to page 8 to conclude this document. This is a procurement code that will be limited to American Rescue Plan Act monies. And it was put together, I understand, by Stites and Harbison. Is that correct,
That's
RJ?
correct.
Because where our procurement code under our administrative code would not cover this, because it has to comply with the federal procurement code, whereas we don't have to. So when we do this, if we give money to Elkhorn City, they have to adopt it and comply with it. Mountain Water's going to have to adopt it and comply with it. Anybody that if we Coal Run or any of these other municipalities that qualified for funding would have to adopt the procurement code as it's set out here to make sure it complied with the federal procurement code. Because that goes back to what I said earlier. When they were doing that Lower Pompey Road around the lake, there was some federal money in that, right, Jimmy? It was hazard mitigation money. And because the prior administration did not put the construction management out for procurement, which you don't have to do under the state, is that right, RJ? Construction management doesn't have to be bid under the state.
Right.
But it has to go through that federal procurement process, like the scoring and stuff, and advertising, and they didn't do that, and the federal government wouldn't reimburse the county $145,000.
I remember.
So this is one of those deals where it would be my motion that we adopt this 8-page document as the procurement guidelines for the Pike County Fiscal Court with respect to the expenditure of American Rescue Plan Act state and local monies. And this would also apply to the money that we're going to get directly from the state for like the Sycamore and Brushy water projects and any of these other water projects that we get out of either the unserved area pool or the pool of money, if we were to get any out of that 49.9 million or whatever for projects that go over budget.
Right,
So
but they set aside.
we would need to, and Mountain Water will need to adopt it for that purpose too, as would the city of Pikeville. Have you talked to the city of Pikeville about that issue?
I have not.
Okay. I'll make them aware of this issue, so that way they don't want to get into a mess where they don't procure it under the federal guidance too.
Yes.
And we'll make sure that Elkhorn City and Coal Run, well, Coal Run won't have anything under that, but Elkhorn City and Pikeville are also aware.
Okay.
So is there a motion, or I'll make the motion, is there a second to my motion to adopt this 8-page procurement policy for, to be used in conjunction with projects funded under the American Rescue Plan Act monies?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robertson. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett,
Yes.
Commissioner Booth,
Yes.
Judge Jones.
Yes, okay. I know you've got a long drive back home tonight, but I do want to talk to you about one thing.
Sure.
Would you explain what happened a few years ago before this administration came in with regard to the county's credit rating and what the significance was to the taxpayers of this county when it comes to bonding projects like trying to save our solid waste program and our landfill? Can you explain that?
Yes. So you had a rating issued for the issuance of some debt that the county took out. I don't recall the project, but the credit rating agencies assign ratings from AAA down to, triple B, which is basically junk bond category. It's much like our individual credit scores. So when you go to market, investors are looking at that credit rating to determine what type of return that they will anticipate from purchasing your debt. Again, much like your personal credit score, the higher it is, most of the time,
The
the
lower
lower
interest rate.
borrowing cost that you have. Through there were a couple of issues. The county had some issues filing financial disclosure, like audits, which is not uncommon in Kentucky because a lot of times we have difficulty getting those completed, submitted to the state auditor, and then them turning them around so that we can publish them. But when you issue debt, you enter into an agreement with the rating agency that you will timely file that financial information so that investors of those bonds have that financial picture of the county to, again, assess their credit risk. That, and I think they came in and kind of looked at,
We had 2 consecutive audits that were bad, one of which was disclaimed
correct.
incorrect cash balances in every account except 1 or 2.
That's right.
Transfers of millions of dollars of money that weren't recorded.
That's
After
correct.
that, even after, at first, in May of 2018, the county's credit rating was downgraded.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3 weeks later, when the next audit comes out,
They
and they
withdrew it.
disclaimed the opinion because the data was so bad,
That's right.
they took the county's credit rating completely away. So we didn't even have a junk bond rating. We had no credit rating, no credit. It's basically the same as I described as an individual not having a credit score.
Correct.
Couldn't buy that.
Well,
Credit.
you can't, and this is a true story. We, from time to time, have to incur things like when we take trucks to the auction or we go to an equipment auction. We applied, the fiscal court of a county with a $30+ million budget applied for a credit card and was denied. Now, that's what we inherited.
Mm-hmm.
You can take a 16-year-old or 18-year-old, as soon as they're old enough to get a credit card, they start getting them in the mail.
Right.
And, you know, any teenager can go get a credit card, but the Pike County Fiscal Court didn't qualify for even a low amount
A low
credit
limit.
card.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's been a problem. Talk to us about, you know, we've stabilized the county's finances.
Hmm.
We finished the year in the black last year. We've paid a lot of debt off. We have fixed a lot of the last audit or 2 have been, you know, no comments on them. We've righted a ship that was, for all intents and purposes, sinking financially. Is it even going to be possible us? And I know you and I have talked about this, something we're going to talk about here in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that has hurt us on getting our credit rating back is the fact we have not raised taxes. Is that a fair statement?
It's a fair statement.
And that's the catch-22 we're in. Once we lost the credit rating, prior administrations lost it, because we've not taken the compensating rate, the rating agencies are looking at us because they're saying that, you know, because we're not raising taxes, it raises a question about the future of the county, correct?
It does.
And, you know, obviously that doesn't take into account the economic situation facing the people of Pike County. You know, hundreds, if not thousands of people unemployment over the last few years in coal-related industries, declining population, an aging population, you know, a desire that we have to try to bring people into our community and we're starting to see a little bit of that. I talked to some folks today that moved here from Oklahoma. I mean, they had no ties here.
Mm-hmm.
They came here, they liked it, decided to stay for 6 months, and they've been here for a year or 2. So, I mean, there's a catch-22. It would have been a lot easier to keep the credit rating we had by doing what should have been done than trying to get it back after we lost it. What's your advice? Are we even going to be able to get this back? I know we've talked to you about this.
Yes.
And you've been working on this, just so the public understands this.
We have, and I think that the court deserves a lot of credit for changing the financial situation of the county, which will make it possible, I believe, to get a rating back. You know, there are some challenges, as you and I have discussed. You know, when they withdraw a rating, they do it for good reason. And it does tend to leave a black mark, if you will, on the county. However, the adjustments that you all have made budgetarily to make sure that you're increasing your reserve and, you know, producing a carry forward, or as you said, finishing in the black each year will go a long way. Now, you know, the rating agency has a proprietary metric that they use, right, to establish your rating. Some things we can't control at all, and we've discussed this before. You know, we are in rural Kentucky, so we don't compare
Population.
we don't
percent.
compare favorably on median income population to the rest of the country. That's a fact.
Hardin County getting a $5.8 billion Ford plant.
Right.
Game changer.
It is.
And you live in a community that has an interstate, and that interstate's brought growth.
Absolutely.
And when you get away 2 hours from an interstate like we are, that's our biggest impediment, is the fact that, you know, commercial truck drivers, just to get on and off, they're 4.5 hours round trip to and from the interstate, with time and service limits on how far truckers can drive daily and weekly. That's a huge problem. But we want you to continue trying to steer us to get a credit rating back, because as I understand it, next year, and I'm going to let Judge Hickman talk about this, we are transitioning from the administrative phase of the landfill permit application into the technical phase. We're finishing that up, but we're already getting the jump start on starting into the technical. We think that sometime next year, next summer, we're going to have to start being in play, having the bond issue ready to go, and hopefully be able to start construction, you know, put the procurement out next fall, because we're running out of space. By the time this term of the court is finished, there's not going to be much space left up there. And it will be a huge hit to the businesses and the residents of the county if that garbage has to go to Ashland, and we're having to pay, you know, $2 or $3 million a year to haul it, and another couple $1 million a year to dump it somewhere else. So you're probably looking for another $4 to $5 million if we had to shut our landfill down even temporarily. So we don't want that to happen. So we'll need to get you back up soon. What kind of time frame do you need from the time we start saying we're going to need money in October of next year or December of next year? What type of time frame do we need to give you to start the bonding process, to, you know, do the paperwork, get court approval? Does it have to go through DLG also?
It does.
So, I mean, DLG has to approve it. I'm not sure who else has to approve it.
That's it.
I'm not sure if the Division of Waste Management has to approve it.
Oh, for that one, yes. They won't have to approve the debt, but obviously the project was something.
So that's what we're working on. So how much time do you need, once we know when we're going to need the money, to start this and have the money to us when we need it?
Yeah, I think you're looking at 90 days. You know, by the time that the court has first and second reading, we apply to DLG to have them authorize the issuance of the debt. Then you have to have a public hearing with DLG. They typically won't schedule that until 30 days after you've made application for approval. We'll have to go through the ratings process, and we can get it done sometimes in less than 90, but just to give ourselves a little buffer, we want to make sure that we have our story straight when we go back to them, because they're going to be critical of Pike County. And again, you know, one of the other things, as we were talking about the rating, you know, they look at 5-year averages also when it comes to reserves, you know, as a percentage of expenditures and as a percentage of total revenues. You know, so you look at a 5-year average, while you all have done a great job of kind of,
We've only been here 3 years.
that's my point exactly.
So if we were able to use some of this money from the ARP to transfer into a reserve account, it makes our picture look a little better and lowers our bonding cost for this landfill. We've paid off, and I know you've tracked how much we've paid. We don't have a lot of bonding debt out there. Mostly it's on AOC, the Hall of Justice, and AO. And our debt, we're down to $7.5 million,
Right.
which is good, because, you know, the less debt we have, the better deal we're gonna get on the bonds. But now, if we don't have a credit rating, let me just explain this if I can. If we don't have a credit rating and we can't go into the open markets, are we pretty much limited to the KCO bond pool?
Pretty much.
So that limits our options and increases our cost to borrow.
We could still probably make it by making a pitch to, you know, you have bond insurance companies now that at one point, you know, after the financial collapse, they went away. They're back now, you know, and they carry AA plus, many of them, credit ratings. So if you can tell your story to them and they will insure you or your bond, then you still have potentially access. The problem becomes, what is the cost of that access? Number one, you're going to pay for the insurance. Number two, you're going to pay a higher cost of capital to borrow those funds. And so we'll still be able to fund the project without a credit rating through either that avenue or the KCO avenue is a much more cost-effective way to fund it. But there are options, but the most cost-effective way is to make the case to S&P and have our rating reinstated. It would actually be issued again, because, I mean, it's, as you've noted, it's gone.
You have any other questions on, I know we had some discussions, maybe it was Commissioner Robertson and I did, about the bond issue the other day. You have any other questions on the financial issue? I just wish the people understood. I don't know how we can convey it to them, how much a difference the last 3 years have made in the county's credit and the financial situation. It's all been done without a single tax increase. Obviously, when we had to raise solid waste rates, it was not popular, but I can sit here and unequivocally state that if we had not raised solid waste rates to the level we did, there would not be a Pike County solid waste system in operation right now. The equipment would not have made it, and your landfill would be ready to close with no prospect other than to shut it down and start hauling it to Ashland, which we figured would probably double the solid waste cost for every person and business in the county. At the same time, we found out when we came in office that there's a $3 million shortfall in the post-closure escrow account that we would probably have to immediately have come up with, or we would have been paying it down the road at some point. So, any other advice or anything else we need to be working on from the?
We'll continue to model out the credit rating for the county and advise you accordingly when you are ready to begin that process. We're more than happy to assist, and we'll look forward to it. And I think we can achieve a positive outcome.
Well, that's why you're here. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we'll be getting back together with you. Let us know when we have some numbers finalized on that lost revenue picture.
I will. I need that most recent audit.
Frankie, can you get him the 19 audit? You want to grab it? Can you up and grab it right now, real quick? Would that be
Email it to
possible?
me.
He can just email it to you. That's fine.
Yeah, that's easiest.
All right, thank you, sir. Safe trip. All right, next item is the approval to apply for federal emergency management hazard mitigation grant for funds to purchase weather radios for Pike County Emergency Management. Doug, Sharon, could you come up and just briefly update the public on this and why it's important? Hello, Mr. Jackson.
Hello.
Mr. Tackett.
Okay. Judge, we've been looking back over the past years, disasters that have happened in this county. And I've got one handout that needs passing out. You'll see one titled Top 10 Counties with Federal Disaster Declarations. And that was from a period of 1953 through 2013. And Judge Rutherford gave us this some time ago when he was last in office. But Pike County was number 7 out of the nation for disasters. Number 7. Let that sink in a little bit.
We've had 2 this year,
Yes, we have.
not counting the pandemic, so.
Exactly. So even though we have the rave system and we've had about, a little over 3,200 people sign up for that, it's still not enough. And there's not a good way still to get warnings out to people. But weather radios, we can, with our iPod system in rave, we can set those off as well as TVs and things like that. With that, the weather radios are a silent partner. They'll sit in a home quietly until they're activated by the weather service or by us. And they will give the alert and a voice that tells them what's going on and what they need to do. And we're looking at starting with some of the most disaster-prone areas in the county. Could be Pond Creek, Shelby Creek, Johns Creek. Those are some of the most that have been hit the most recently. And also Blackberry too. We'd like to start with a grant for 5,000 radios, which would run $124,500 on the estimate that we have now.
Do we have to bid that, or is it state contract price?
It would have to be
Okay.
bid once the grant's approved.
Yeah, we just got a proposal. So
I didn't know if any of those were on any kind of government contract pricing or anything.
No, I don't know yet.
No,
We
not
just-
yet.
We can get Greg to check on that, can't we, Greg?
Yeah.
It's from Midland, the quote.
So, where it's FEMA hazard mitigation, FEMA puts 75%, the state would match it, and then the county's match would be 16,185. But that could be in kind, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So we
We're
wouldn't
looking at doing
necessarily have
in-
to be out of pocket anything other than labor costs and
Mhm.
distribution, things like that.
No,
Right.
I talked to FEMA today, and they said that the labor to program the radios, to distribute them, all of that could be counted as, just keep good documentation on your labor, that all could be in kind. And those radios, I talked to Doug about it too. I said, what if you don't have internet? What if you don't have cell phone service? They
Well,
work off
there's-
repeater towers.
There's 2 transmitters in the county for the National Weather Service. There was one at Phelps and one at Flatwoods at Dorton. And they're both 300-watt transmitters, and they pretty well cover the county.
And they have battery backup, so you don't have to have power. So
Yeah.
you can get notification no matter what. You should be able to.
I think it's a great idea. Doug, while you're here,
Mm-hmm.
I'd like for you to get with Pike TV and let's do a program or some public service announcements on Pike TV
Okay.
that we could air for the rave alert, because we've got 58,000 people in the county. We only have 3,200
Signed up.
people signed up, and the rave alert
Yes.
could be a lifesaver. It could be a lifesaver if there's a tornado, if there's a flash flood event, if
Exactly.
there's an impoundment failure, if
Mhm.
there's any and all, a chemical
Even
spill.
hazardous materials in your neighborhood somewhere.
Like the train derailment
Right,
we had.
train derailment, or the xylene spill in '04 down here at Buckley's Creek. There's numerous things it could be used for.
Take Blackberry a couple weeks ago if it hit at night,
Right.
you know.
There's no excuse for us, and we've talked about this in the past.
Mm-hmm.
We've not done as well on it lately, but it's hard to get people to sign up. Maybe we need to get Pike County Emergency Management to put some stuff out on Facebook,
We've got stuff on Facebook.
and maybe trying to push it out there a little bit
Yeah,
more. And
We can do that.
And if we can get Pike TV, and we've got Mr. Sloan here from the News Express, maybe, Doug, if we could get you to reach out to WYMT and Mountaintop News and see if we can get some public service announcements done with them, or at least a news story
Okay.
to encourage people to sign up on Rave Alert. But I do think this weather radio program is a great idea. It could be a lifesaver.
Yes, it could.
And I will make a motion to approve the application for a federal emergency management hazard mitigation grant for funds to purchase weather radios for Pike County with a total project cost of $124,500, $93,375 from FEMA. The state would put in $14,940, and then we would put in kind and cash up to $16,185. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Tackett. Any question or discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Mr. Tackett, we have a special guest in the back. Would you take the opportunity to introduce our special guest, Mr. Fields, and tell folks out there a little bit about who we have here in the audience tonight?
Okay, this is Tim Fields. He is currently the Director of Emergency Management in Floyd County. And hopefully this winter, after Charles retires, he'll take in and set up in his place. He's a mapping guy from way back. He helped us start our GIS system back in the early 90s. So he's been mapping and addressing and all these things for a number of years. He's also applicant agent in Floyd County, and he could help our applicant agent if he's here.
Now, so people don't know what applicant agent means. That is the person that oversees
all the
all the
disaster
FEMA
work. Yes.
And I've known Tim for probably 40-some years because he's from Virgie originally and graduated a year behind me. But Tim has got remarkable experience in emergency management. Basically started the GIS program. People don't realize how important GIS.
Well, Tim, we developed software back in, it's been, how long ago, Tim? That is before '09. We were working on software to work disasters with, to do damage assessment with. And what we use today was developed out of several disasters over those few years. We would take lessons learned from one disaster and change the software to use the next time and so on. And we finally got a program that works the way we want it. And it was designed right here, and that's the company that put it together for us is out of Lexington, and they market it statewide now.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Tim, welcome. And we look forward to getting into the interview process and certainly hope that you're an applicant for that position. Judge Williams may get mad if we steal their emergency management director, but we certainly hope that you're an applicant for that position. We're going to miss Charles when he retires, but we've got a outstanding deputy emergency management director in waiting, Mr. Nee Jackson. Doug has told us he's retiring in January or so, sometime up in the spring, and then Charles is leaving December 31st, and we wish him much happiness in retirement. And whoever steps in Charles's shoes and Doug's shoes are going to have some big shoes to fill. So welcome, and we look forward to having a discussion with you down the road about this position. Mr. Tackett, any other business, sir?
No other business.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary, too.
Thank you. Happy birthday. Got it out, didn't we?
Yeah, happy birthday to me, right?
It's
Didn't have all
not
this-
so bad.
I looked at a picture 3 years ago. I didn't have all this gray hair then, so.
Huh?
No, I don't want you saying that.
Oh,
I didn't like the song as a kid. I don't like it now. So anyway.
21 is not so bad. I've been there.
21 plus a few.
Yeah.
I could say something about how old you are, but I'm not
I
going to
know.
say. All right. Sharon, stay there. The next item is approval to apply for an Appalachian Regional Commission grant in the amount of $612,000 to be used for construction of three-phase power at the Wolf Pit Industrial and Technology Park. Now, this will be in addition to the $1 million almost 1.9 million that we've already received
Yes.
from the Economic Development Administration that will match with our match of about 400 and some thousand of coal severance tax.
Yeah, that coal severance grant was for 620,000. When they took the power, EDA took the power out of that grant, that made the match 467, which left exactly, of course, 153,000, which would be the match for the power.
Okay.
And so we left it that way, and I did the wording this year to say to match any grants
So we've already got an AML grant application in.
for the same amount, but this is insurance, and I've already talked to Scott Sharp at ARC. You know, he and I both are, it probably won't happen. They've only got 10 million.
And AML.
Yes.
So we're going back to work on the power, and this is the power and water and sewer infrastructure and fiber that we may have to tap into the ARP money for if we can't get a grant for that.
Yes, because we haven't applied for fiber yet.
So, you know, this will give the county the first county-owned industrial site.
Yes.
The city has an industrial site, the county does not. And I've said often that because you have an industrial site doesn't guarantee that a company will come there. But it's a 100% guarantee they won't come if you don't have a site for them.
Absolutely.
And Perry County, my buddy Scott Alexander who's county judge executive, served in the House of Representatives. They've had some significant success recruiting an aluminum company over there. Reggie, what was another company over there? The technology company, Intuit, or it was another tech company that starts out $15 to $19 an hour. I mean, they've had some real success over there, but one of the reasons they've had success in recruiting companies is they had some buildings that were ready to go.
Right, that'll be the next
And,
step.
you
I
know,
hope.
nobody's going to sit around and wait 2 years till you build a building if they're looking for a place to expand. And that's why that, you know, we have to hurry this project along. And we're not sitting on our laurels. We're looking for every source of money to get this project up and running.
Yeah, that's why I have 2 applications for the same thing, just to be
Okay.
sure.
All right. So is there a motion to approve Ms. Hall applying for an ARC grant for the 3-phase power at the Wolf Pit Industrial and Technology Park?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robertson. Any question, comment, discussion, suggestion, anything else on this one? All right. We have a motion second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Sharon, sit there,
Commissioner Robertson?
please.
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Now, just not going to go into details, but I'm not even going to include anybody else in on this, but you are working on a rather large grant application for a project that's near and dear to the hearts of members of the court.
Yes.
And we're not going to disclose any details. Do you feel pretty good about that?
Yeah, the discussions I've had with the funding agency was pretty good.
Okay. Could potentially be a $3 million infusion for
Yes.
a big, potentially.
Potential, yes.
Okay.
We do certain things, they'll do certain things.
Okay. We'll just leave the suspense out there.
Okay.
I'm not even include these guys in on it yet. So
Okay.
I don't want to let, there's some things that we're working on to try to change the playing field in Pike County and give us some opportunities that some other counties don't have. So, all right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Next item is the second reading and adoption of the Pike County Fiscal Court Budget Amendment Number 1 for fiscal year 2021-2022. Mr. Downey, would you please present that reading?
Pike County Fiscal Court, Ordinance 1, Amendment 1, an ordinance relating to the annual budget and amendment thereof. Whereas Pike County, Kentucky has realized unbudgeted receipts, be it ordained by Pike County of the Commonwealth of Kentucky that Section 1, current fiscal year 2021 to 2022, that the budget show an increase total amended revenues of $10,943,869 with the same amounts being shown going into the appropriate accounts to be spent. This has been through the first reading, and the state local finance officer has approved it, Judge.
Is there a motion to approve second reading and adoption of the Pike County Fiscal Court Budget Amendment Number 1 for year 2021-2022?
Motion.
Who was it? Commissioner
Motion.
Robertson. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Booth. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes. Frankie, I'll sign this so we can get to DLG. All right, Mr. Fan, awarding a bid, sir. Before you do that, Greg, I do have an important couple things to come on up. We received the information for our tax rate for the 2021 taxes from the Department of Local Government. The compensating rate was listed for real property. The compensating rate was 19.30 cents per $100. That's an increase. I think our current rate's 18 cents. That is a significant increase just in the compensating rate. The fiscal court, and I want to be very clear about this, has not raised property taxes since we've been in office. We have not raised any taxes because we are cognizant of the situation facing the people of the county. That's not to say that at some point in time that the county will not have to make the decision to raise property taxes. But for those folks like me and these gentlemen up here who have property, who have businesses, for people who are on fixed income, for families that have lost their jobs, the people who are paying can't shoulder any more tax burden. And the only way we're going to fix this, we can't tax our way out of this problem. The only way we're going to fix this is to bring people here. First of all, we got to stop people from leaving. We got to bring people in here, whether it's tourism, whether it's people investing in their businesses, whether it becomes a retirement community for people who are retiring in high-cost areas that can come here on a retirement income and live a higher standard of living than they can somewhere like Boston or Chicago or New York. I don't know exactly what this will cost the state, or the county, I should say, over the next year by not raising it. Frankie, have you figured that number out?
Haven't yet, Judge, but it'll cost us that.
Yeah, there are several $100,000 in taxes that we have forgone in the 3 years we've been in office. And that's revenue that once we do not take the compensating rate, we can't make up for that. At the same time, I believe that entities like the library board can withstand to cut their tax rate even more. When they're sitting on, if you build a $12 million library facility, you really have to question the priorities, and if they can pay for that up front, whether their tax rate's too high. And when they're sitting there with $5 or $6 million in cash reserves, and you have people struggling to pay their mortgages, struggling to make ends meet, and I think that that something's going to have to give on that. The health department has not raised their tax rate in years, and even in the face of escalating pension costs, last year the library board did cut their tax rate slightly. I'm hoping they'll do the same thing this year. No doubt us not taking the compensating rate will cause the county a considerable amount of money. And but would the members of the court have a position on this, or like to state their opinion on this?
Well, Judge, I just don't think that like you said, I mean, not to repeat a broken record, but people just can't afford any more taxes, and I think that, as long as this court can, that we don't raise taxes on the people of Pike County on their property taxes.
Commissioner Roberts.
I agree with Commissioner Booth. As long as I'm sitting on this court, I will not raise taxes unless it's absolutely.
You know, I want to just mention and explain how the compensating rate works. The compensating rate is the tax rate that will give the fiscal court or the government entity like the school board or the health department the same revenue that they had the previous year. It's not a tax increase. Even if the rate goes up, it doesn't bring any new revenue into the county. And here's why. The county's assessed property tax values have continued to decrease. And this is a bad sign for property owners in Pike County. The 2020, back up here for a second. The 2020 personal property tax values were $463 million. The personal property in 2021 actually went up. The here's the other one. The real property. Let me look at this for a second. There was a slight increase in all property values, but certain areas appear to have taken a reduction. For instance, the homestead exemptions went up about $7.2 million. So that means that much more property value is not subject to assessment. The real estate values went down by $5 million. The tangible personal property values went down by $12 million. So when you add all those things in, there is a that accounts for the reason that the rate, just to keep the same revenue, was recommended to go from 18 cents per $100 of assessed value to 19.30 cents. So, is there a motion by the fiscal court to keep the property tax rate the same as it has been since we've been in office, at 18 cents per $100 of assessed value?
Motion.
And also, I should say, Commissioner Robertson, and also the personal property tax rate to stay at the same rate.
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Robertson. What's that? Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Booth. Is there any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett,
Yes.
Commissioner Booth,
Yes.
Judge Jones.
Yes. Also, to follow up on something that I brought up a few weeks ago, we received a letter from Mr. Tim Feld, Vice President General Counsel at Kentucky Employers Mutual Insurance. They asked us to look and see. They were getting ready to do some rebates on insurance premiums to various coal companies. And they sent us a letter asking us if these entities had any unpaid property taxes or any unpaid county taxes. And if so, then they would send that, those reimbursements on the insurance premiums to us pursuant to the statute that allows those refunds to be held for back due taxes. It's my understanding, and Jeannie can correct me, that Pike County was the only county in the state that followed up with KEME on this. In the county attorney's office, Mr. Keene's office collected $53,904 in outstanding taxes owed to our schools and our county and these other, the health department, et cetera. And we want to thank the folks at KEME for letting us know that. $53,904 that we likely never would have collected. And I want to congratulate thank KEME, and also commend Mr. Keene and Tawny Keene in the county attorney's office for following through with that. All right, Mr. Fannin, you're next, sir.
Back early in the spring, I think it was, we bought 3 additional Ford F-350 diesel trucks. These are the kind of trucks that we do most of our snow plowing with in the winter, as well as use them for other things all during the year. But we haven't yet bought salters and spreaders for those 3 trucks. I got 3 quotes for spreaders and salters. Now, last year we bought a couple of a different kind of a plow. We bought a V plow, which Fabian, our road department supervisor, seems to think works a lot better in our situation. So that's what I got quotes on. So these are for a 8.5 foot poly V plow, and also the 8 foot Western Striker stainless steel electric salter that goes in the back.
You looked at this.
The first quote I got was from Owens Equipment in Corbin, Kentucky. Their bid for the pair, the salter and the plow, is $13,395. I have a
How many
quote.
do we have to have of those?
3. We got 3 trucks we need to upfit. I also got,
They didn't put the total on there. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's got the price for one, right?
yes. I also got a quote from Baker Truck Equipment in Hurricane, West Virginia. Their bid price on each is $13,584. I also got a bid from Midstate Equipment in Buchanan, Virginia, and their bid price was $15,938. Now, if we look close on this Owen and Baker bid, for Owen, the plow bid was $7,395, and on the Baker bid, the 8 foot Western Striker spreader was bid $5,322. If we were to buy 3 of the plows from Owen and 3 of the spreaders from Baker, we'd be getting each package like that would be $12,717 a truck, or about $38,000 to shoe up all 3
So
trucks.
the spreaders were cheaper at Baker, and the plows were cheaper at Owens.
Correct.
What about Midstate?
Midstate, the plow, one of the biggest things is I think Midstate sells some Western equipment, but I'm not sure that they're a Western dealer. Owen and Baker can both sell as a dealer through the Sourcewell contract. And a big advantage for us at this point is through that Sourcewell contract, there was a contract that was signed in the last year with Western and with their dealers to be able to sell at a certain price. On the Midstate bid, they have a large manufacturer surcharge added onto it that these other 2 companies don't. But the Sourcewell contract, when the Sourcewell contract was signed with Western, they have to hold that price. They can't add a surcharge on, or they just have to eat that money, and they have to supply them at the price they signed the contract for. So that gives us a big advantage, not having to pay a big surcharge because of metal costs and other things that we would have to have if we weren't able to use this co-op contract.
So let's back up for a second. Owens is not charging delivery.
No, sir.
They're not charging any kind of surcharge.
No, sir.
Baker's not charging a delivery.
No, sir.
So, I mean, if you look at this, I just added the bids up. Owens was 40,185. Baker was 40,752. And Midstate was 47,814. So it's over 7,000 higher than the others. Now, if I do this correctly, Greg, if you bought,
I think if you bought the plows from Owen and the spreaders from Baker, and you bought 3 of each, it'd be a total of 38,151.
hang on a second here. So if you bought the spreader from Owens, the plow from, I'm back up here.
Plow from Owen and the spreader from Baker.
Yeah, then that gets it down to 38,151.
Right.
Now, are these all the poly V plows?
Yes, sir.
All the same size?
Yes, sir.
Do we have to, these are over 30,000, do we have to bid them?
No, sir. We'll be buying through the Sourcewell contract.
What's that?
We'll be buying through the Sourcewell contract.
Okay.
Also, Owen, I checked on lead time because, I mean, we're getting close. I mean, by the end of the year, the end of December, we may see some snow. Owen on the plow said there was a 30-day lead time, and on the spreader, they said there was a 50-day lead time. And Baker told me lead time on these units are December. So he's telling me sometime in December. So 60, 70 days through Baker.
Okay.
Does any one of them have them in stock?
No, sir. I think the big sellers for these companies are the stainless. And Fabian seems to think that the poly will be a lot better for us.
Now let me ask you something. So the Owens is a Western 8.5 foot Ultra Mount Series 2 MVP plus poly plow. And the one on Baker is an MVP 3.
Correct. They said it's a style difference, so there's very little difference in the two plows, and they normally cost right at the same. But he said it's a style difference.
Do you know the difference, Fabian?
What ones did we get on those trucks we got out of New York? They were stainless. They're not gonna rust. They're not gonna.
They're not as heavy duty either, are they, Fabian?
The poly don't have the snow stick to it like the.
So eventually that stainless will wear, the poly won't. It'll be, it'll outlast the frame that it's sitting on.
I'm just concerned about, we don't want it like the tractor deal. I mean, we gotta have blades, and this is October. You know. Be awful bad we don't have any blades or solders to put in the trucks.
It would.
Yeah, I mean, I would go with whichever one get them here the quickest. Even if you had to pay more, I mean, you don't sit in here December 30th and 5 foot of snow on the ground, you can't got nothing to push it with because you tried to go with the cheaper $100 cheaper plow.
When did they say they could get these, Greg?
Well, Baker is telling me the lead time, he just said lead time is December. In other words, he would have them to us in
What
December.
about Owens?
And Owen said that 30 days on the plow and 50 days on the spreader. Of course, the spreader, if we're going to buy it from Baker, it doesn't matter. But he said on the plow it's 30 days. Owens could have us the poly plows in 30 days.
I make a motion to buy 3 of the plows for $73.95 from Owens in Corbin, Kentucky, and 3 of the Western Striker spreaders for $5,322 each from Baker Equipment.
Putting one up.
If you can get the blades, you get the blades in 30 days, right?
They told me 30 days, yes.
So-
30 days is gonna put us in November. I'm not saying we're gonna have a snow in December.
Well, so where do you get the spreaders from quicker?
Get solders and spreaders quicker from Owens. What is my understanding of that?
That's-
Now, Greg?
Well, he said December. You know, that's kind of not real exact date. December. I mean, it's what, the 5th of October. I mean, December's in 60 days.
When did Baker say you would get them?
It says on the bottom there, lead time is December, is what he said. He said, I'll have them to you in December.
So
That's all he could
Owens
tell me.
says they can have the plows in 30 days.
Yes, sir.
Owens says they can have the spreaders when?
50 days.
50 days.
Okay, that gets you up into November.
Right.
Okay, Baker says that you get the, get them when?
December.
So you're not having much difference on either one of them. You're talking December is,
Yeah, but it could be December 31st. I mean, December's December.
Owens has got the lowest bid.
I think,
Well, I mean, he's talking about splitting it, but still, I mean, I ain't worried about the money. I'm worried about getting them here so when the snow flies, we got something to work with.
I've heard enough about cutting weeds from this
That's what I say, I don't want to hear it about
well,
pushing snow, trying to save a few
We
thousand.
we will never go through that again.
Ronnie, drive by the car lots. There ain't no cars on the lot.
That's what I'm saying, and it's getting worse every year about getting stuff.
You can't get parts in for cars.
I
We've got one of
know
the
all
new-
about that.
We've got one of the new Mack trucks, and we can't get a computer module for it, and they're saying it might be 10 months.
Yeah, they don't know when.
Well,
Get them.
I'll give you a good
I'm not gonna say anything about that.
What, you wish it was Peterbilt?
No, it's your birthday.
I ain't voting for any more Peterbilts, but that's besides the point. All right. I say, 50 days from now puts you almost to December. They don't say in December. I'd say go with the lowest bid. We can rescind it. I mean,
They may not have it though.
what do you mean? Well, they may not have it. Baker may not have it in December either.
Well, he said 50 days. If they ain't here in 50 days, you better be calling somebody else, whoever's got them in stock, buy them.
But they, neither
Ain't
one,
no-
none of them got them in stock, do they, Greg?
No.
Nobody's got none of this stuff in stock.
No. That's what I'm saying.
Poly
I
V
mean,
plows.
What about the solders?
They told me no. They gave me a lead time. Each of these companies gave me a lead time of how long it'd be
I
before
mean,
they could have
50
them.
days puts you almost in, and you've got.
Well, let's put it this way. If they say they can get them in the days they say, that's fine. If they don't have them,
Well, I mean, Ronnie, there's no way to predict that on any of this stuff. I mean, we bought tractors, 3 tractors in February, and they could June they hadn't even got them here. July.
I know we don't need to.
But I mean, that's not that's something totally beyond air control. I mean, we can't control a pandemic that's affected the globe and shut down the supply chain. I mean, look at building materials. I mean, a $30-some sheet of Advantech went to $100. I mean, and it ain't over yet. My sister tells me she's having trouble getting stuff in her furniture store. I mean, it's a huge supply chain problem. Car manufacturers are shutting plants down. They're shutting lines and plants down because they can't get computer chips.
Well, 50 days would put you around.
Keep in mind, it's going to be 1st of December, 50
Well,
days.
you're looking at 50 days from today. If you order them tomorrow, you're looking at probably around the 19th, 20th of November.
Right
I
before
mean, that gives you,
Thanksgiving.
that's still though, that's almost 2 weeks before December. I mean, I'd rather take a chance getting them sooner than December. Just bothers me. I'd rather have them 50 days
Well,
out.
I support buying them, when you're only talking a week or two difference, I support buying them for $30-some thousand instead of, $38,151 is better than, it's better than $40,752. That's,
Judge, we did that on the tractors too, and we didn't get them.
Ronnie, there ain't no guarantee I mean, there ain't no guarantee you buy from any one of these companies that you're gonna get them on time.
50 still better than December.
You all make your motion, you all have got the documents, you all make a motion and decide which ones you wanna buy, and then we'll
Let me say this if
Have
I
a
can,
vote on it.
Judge. Let me say this if I can. Both these companies, Owen and Baker, they're getting these spreaders from Western. It depends when Western can supply them.
it don't matter.
I mean, if, Owen, they're getting from the same place that Baker is. They're
You're
both coming
talking
from
a
the same place.
2 week, one says sometime in November, one says 1st of December.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying is they're both coming from the same place. They probably don't know exactly. They just know it's gonna be at least,
A buddy of mine ordered a Jeep 4 months ago and it still ain't in. I mean,
if these were two different products coming from two different manufacturers, their lead time may be justified, but when you're getting the same product from the same
coming out of the same
manufacturer,
assembly line.
they could be both 30 days, they could both be 50 days.
Maybe we need to call every company we can find and see if they got them in stock. And if they do, tell them to ship them.
You can't do it unless they're sourced well, Brian.
That's what I'm saying. Look, every company at Sourcewell and tell them if they got them shipped.
So
if
if
they're
you
Sourcewell,
so if they don't have them, then we've punted this thing 2 more weeks down the road, and then you still don't have them if you can't find them. And we're trying to stand.
well, I know. I'm saying if they have this type in stock. I mean, it is. I mean, right now anything is. If it's in stock, you better buy it. If it ain't in stock,
Well,
you're
I
in
mean,
trouble.
you can either act on Greg's these prices. You can ask Greg to go get you some more prices and come back in 2 weeks. Then you punt it 2 weeks down, and if it's still going to be a 50 or 60 day lead time, and you're that much later getting them,
I say we go with 50-day lead time. Sounds better than December.
Well, make your motion. Which ones you want to buy?
With the ones that was on I'll make a motion to buy the ones that's on the 50-day lead time that's out there. That was what was Owens.
It's 30 days
30
on
to
the
50
plow.
days, yeah.
Owens was 30 days on the plow.
Mm-hmm.
And
50 days on the solder.
On the solder.
Right. And Baker's was, you said December, correct?
To December, but again, both these companies, I would think, would have both of these products available at the same time. When Western makes them available, they're available. They're both coming from the same manufacturer. Both dealerships are going to get them from the same manufacturer. When Western has them available,
I'd say it
these
depends.
companies will get them. So really, the lead time would be the same.
Yeah, but what if Owens ordered before Baker did? What if Owens ordered 50?
That's something we can't control.
I know it. I'm just saying there's a lot of ifs to it. And I know it's uncertainty.
Just make a motion and let's move on.
So Owens has got the 50-day lead time.
They're telling us 50 days, yes, on the spreader.
On the spreader, and the blade, they don't know.
30 days on the blade.
Make a motion, we buy it from Owen.
Buy what from Owen?
Huh?
Make a motion, we buy what from Owen?
Solders in the plow.
Solder and spreader boat.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Robertson to buy 3 spreaders for $6,000 and 3 plows for $7,395 each. As I totaled this up, it would be $40,185 to equip the last 3 road department trucks with solders and spreaders prior to bad weather. We have motion second. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett,
Yes.
Commissioner Booth.
Yes.
Judge Jones.
No. All right, moving on to something else. Mr. Little.
Thank you, Judge.
Any other business, Mr. Fan? Any other, business to come before the court? You said no. All right. Mr. Little, welcome, sir.
Thank you.
I can say that the 4 dump trucks that we bought, the first one came in yesterday, is actually put in service and working today, and the other 3 will be here this week.
Good.
Do we have to buy, saws and blades for those too?
We do.
That's something I've been working on, and I haven't got all the quotes yet.
All right, sir. How are you today?
Doing good.
How's our paving coming?
Well, our paving kind of took a little bit of a hiatus the last 2 days because my operator is on vacation. He's worked really hard, and there's no way I could deny him. He wanted to go on a fishing tournament, so I couldn't deny him to go. And I wasn't able to get on it myself yesterday or today. So
When will we be back, start paving back?
we'll pave tomorrow.
We have the Pike County Road Department completed work orders and the schedule of upcoming road work that shows the work that has been scheduled in each of the 6 road lots. Are there any additions or additional work orders that need to be submitted for the next 2-week period that are not listed on the road department work orders?
Baby and I got a call from a lady down on Coal Hollow, down Lower Johns Creek. Says she's got some real bad holes, and I don't know if that road's gravelled or blacktopped one.
Okay. Now, what I would like to say there is, you know, one thing is, as you're aware of, but maybe they're not, is your crew has been in Mare Creek for practically 2 weeks now. It was just that much damage was done to it at the same flooding when all the damage was done in Blackberry. I've talked to the foreman today, and, you know, we've got plans on, he's gonna help us a little bit on the paving, but then also he will get back around to doing this pothole patching and some of the other road work. Hopefully he'll be out of Mare Creek by the end of this week, though.
Okay. Are we planning on trying to blacktop down there too?
Where at?
Down on Mare Creek.
Yeah, we will try to. Now, when you're saying blacktop, I don't want everyone to get the impression that we're going to blacktop the entire hollow or resurface the entire thing. We'll try to go in there as soon as we can to resurface what was damaged during the flood, to put it back. But now you have to keep in mind too, is we already have all this other paving ahead of us. So
Yeah, I'm aware of that, and we're behind really a little bit, aren't we?
no, we're behind quite a bit. I mean, this rain is what put us behind. This flooding event put us way behind because we had to stop paving for 3 weeks while we were trying to get these roads opened up.
It's not just that. When the state roads are being resurfaced, and there's been several big projects, the asphalt plant gives the state contract first priority. So the days the state takes the asphalt, we can't get blacktop.
Well, we had a paver that broke down too, and it was a day or two cost us.
We did. We had a chain broke, but then as the judge was also saying, when they done this on 23, you know, we couldn't get blacktop for 2 weeks.
I mean, even down in Floyd County, these places that they've worked.
Yeah,
I mean,
we because they run a special blend, they won't sell to us. They can't switch over from their blend back to what we need, so we can't get blacktop.
then you've had the rain, you can't blacktop when it's raining. Then you've had a flood event that took us out for 3 weeks. Yeah, we're behind. I mean, it's going to be, we're going to be hard pressed to get the blacktopping done that we have planned for this fiscal year. But you know, all we can do is,
we'll get it. I'm still positive that we will. I've got some really hard workers and some good guys, and we'll get it done.
And on the Penny Street Bridge, we're already working on the environmental impact study that's already.
Mr. Kyler may want to come up just to
Jimmy,
speak on
come
that
on
if
up.
you have time,
Jimmy, come on up on that.
just to let the people know where we're at on that study.
And you know, I mean, just so the folks up in Penny Bottom can understand this, this is a federal requirement that
Yeah.
we have to have done, even though there's a bridge there that was constructed.
Yeah,
We have to.
Some had asked, well, why don't all these other bridges have to have it? But what Mr. Kaiser can tell you too, the state, when they build the bridges, this is built into theirs. They're already having this done. When you're getting money from the state, you have to do what they tell you to do.
We met up there with a biologist and with Ishmael
Ratliff.
Thursday or Friday morning. The biologist was there and done one part of his study, and he'll probably be done another week. He has to come back and do like 2 more sections, upstream and downstream. And once that's done, then all the state 401s will be getting their information, and it's.
What's the cost? Just so the public understands, what's the cost of this study?
Ought to be anywhere from $14,000 to $20,000.
Yeah.
I mean, just go look at some of the stuff.
Is it
I want to take a second to
count the miners and the
commend, while we're talking about creeks and streams, Pete Runyon and a lot of volunteers have worked very hard to clean up the Tug Fork. And since they've been doing it, they've taken over 4,200 tires out of the river. And there's
1,000 Saturday.
1,000 tires Saturday, 4,200 total. And I just want to commend all those volunteers. The state of West Virginia and the Kentucky are working together on that. But 4,200 tires right there out of the river is mind-boggling. And it just shows the pollution problem, the litter problem. But with all the other stuff going to creeks, I mean, for us to try to build a bridge that needs to be replaced, and the federal government and state government says that you have to do a study to make sure you're not going to interfere with minnows and crawdads and stuff like that, it just really, it's just more financial pressure on local governments trying to address important needs. So
Yeah, it's so time consuming too. I mean, this stuff moves at a
snail's pace.
And we didn't know that at the time when we started this project.
No, when you get a letter
We get a letter, I think, was it Jimmy?
That's
got a letter.
Was it the U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife?
Yeah, that's the hang up. Yeah, the Corps really was gonna, they didn't have a problem, but the Fish and Wildlife wouldn't back off, and then when
It's federal government.
Right.
It's not state. It's not like we can call up the governor's office and say, can we get a break on this? Is federal.
And then we're permitting it in 2 different ways too.
Yeah, we are.
To either put a
Center pier?
No. A bypass.
Or move the bridge down.
To a different location.
And then keep
To
the
the
bridge there till you're done. We're permitting it both ways, so if whatever comes up, what's the best way and most financial way?
It does, but there's a little hang up that I have to deal with on that to see which way we can go. But this is another thing I'd like the people that live down in Penny Bottom to know is just, when this is done, if we do the bypass, that doesn't mean that when this is done, I can just jump in there and start building this bridge. I have to pick a time that it's not going to flood, or I think it's not going to flood. That way, my bypass will hold, because in that creek, once that water gets up, my drains are going to end up down in Shelby somewhere. If I can find them at all. So
spring rain.
You can't do it in the spring. Hopefully we can maybe start it in the middle of this winter sometime when paving's over with. We'll start that bridge.
And it'll already be permitted both ways, 1 or 2,
If
and
they're
be
not no
approved. So
crawdads.
whatever you decide to do, it'll be ready to go.
I said, and if they're not no crawdads, hopefully they don't swim in there this winter whenever
There you go.
in between this.
It just is what it is, guys. I mean,
I felt good about what I done today. I went at Fish Trap and pulled out a building, and sitting on the float
The lake?
assembling it. Yeah. Pulled it out, and the bluegill come out with it. That poor bluegill was laying there in the parking lot, and I had to go over and rescue it and take it and put it back in there.
I thought you may have brought it home, put it in the fish tank.
all right. We have we have this motion on the work orders completed and the upcoming work orders. Is there a motion to adopt?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Booth. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett,
Yes.
Commissioner Booth,
Yes.
Judge Jones.
Yes. I want to take an opportunity. Last week, the Kentucky County Judge Executive Association had a 2-day meeting in Lexington. A lot of important topics were discussed. It wasn't just county judges, but deputy judges, treasurers, finance people, road department people. Mr. Little accompanied me down there. A lot of issues that we were able to discuss. But a local Eastern Kentucky judge executive, and I won't mention names, came over, and he had actually reached out to me a few months ago, 4 months ago, asking questions about how we did certain things in our road department. They watch our court meetings. And he came up and he said, I want to tell you how impressed I am with your road supervisor. And I don't brag on you. But another county judge come up, and he had reached out to Reggie about getting some information. And he said, I'd like to come over and sit down with your folks at your maintenance garage, and in particular your road supervisor, to talk about how you do your work orders. We have a problem with our work orders, jumping around, running from place to place, with our organization. And I'd like to bring one of our magistrates and our road supervisor over and sit down. And we said, well, just let us know. We're in the process of trying to set that up. But I thought that was a very positive, thing to see another county judge and folks in other counties want to come over and see how we do stuff, because they like what they see. They like how we're transparent, and we put these work orders on Pike TV's YouTube page, and they'll be broadcast live and also on their Facebook page. So Fabian, I just want to let the people know that you're doing a good job, that you have a tough job, and a lot's expected from you. And a lot of times people don't see it when you're called out in the middle of the night, or I get a phone call and I roll over at 3 o'clock in the morning and call you. Or, you take off a day, get out and do something, and, you're on the golf course and you get a call about a tree that's down and you have to take off and go.
Well, no, Judge, honestly, I took that as a great compliment, but not just for myself, but also for this court, because you guys had the faith in me to allow me to start this process and to see it, to carry it through. And we're not done yet. We're still working, and that, honestly, I have to give a lot of props to Miss Maynard back there, because she program's only as good as what you're putting in it and who's putting it, who's work running it. So,
and I do think it's important to mention Sam, because we had the flood event back in the spring. We were in the emergency operations center pretty much all night. Sam came in on her own time to answer phone calls in the road department. She's done that a whole lot. Every time we've had, even when she's not been asked to do it, she's come in on her own accord to make sure that if there are people who need things, need to be able to reach somebody in the road department because of high water or, trees down or whatever it may be, that she comes in to make sure those phones are manned. And Sam, we appreciate your work. Very much appreciated. So
I got just to remind, Earl Thacker called me the other day. He wants me and you to come up to Hurricane and look at a problem he's got whenever you can.
He had messaged me the other day, and I told him, actually he had told me that he had been in communication with you, and I told him that we would get together and go up there and look at that situation, look at what he has.
Okay. Because I told him I would get up with you, because I didn't want to go up there and look at it until you was up there with him. When do you think that you'll start paving in my district?
Well, now that's going to be, I'll tell you what happened there, and I'm glad you asked me, because I'd like to explain why we left. Why we left and stopped was because of the flooding. And then we had issues on up in there with some damage, But then we had 2 Macs to break down. 2 of our new trucks that we had just got had broke down. So it really didn't make sense running that far of a distance away from that plant with only 4 trucks. I could only get 3 rounds a day if I'm hauling to Phelps, whereas if I'm hauling here, I can get rid of, not get rid of, but get down more of the blacktop. I can get more mileage down. So that's what I chose to do. So hopefully, one of the trucks is already back, so I've got 5 going. I talked to Darren today, and he says that Mac dealership themselves have been in contact with Worldwide. They have okayed another fix that they think may fix this truck without getting the CPU. There's no guarantee, but hopefully if that works, that truck will be running by Monday. I'm telling you all this, and I don't make it long because I don't have a direct answer of when I'll be back in Phelps, but if this truck gets going, it will be soon. That's what I'm trying to get.
Yeah, which I know we ain't nowhere near ready in Bones Branch or anything. That's probably not going to happen this year. What about Belfry? How close?
Well, no, the Belfry will get back in there, but now I still have some for Commissioner Robertson to get done before I jump back over that way. I have some more over in the meat area.
What would it cost us if we got a contract truck or 2?
Well, now I've not looked. I don't have a price for you tonight, which I can get you the price. It wouldn't be hard to do, and that's something that I may come to you and get you to do.
So the truck running.
Yeah. We can get contract trucks.
It might be even made faster if you got a couple contract trucks as far as you have to haul it.
And it will make it, and that's a decision, honestly, that kind of.
There's a lot of people there. I'm getting calls every day now about when. That's the reason I mentioned the extra truck. That's the only reason,
I get them too, but we're behind. There's.
Oh, I know.
We're just. Behind. We can't control floods, rain, state
And
contracts.
honestly, you can't. That's the thing.
If I had a crystal ball that told me when a piece of equipment was going to break down, it'd be nice. We don't have that. If I had a crystal ball that told me we were going to have a flood, it would be nice. We don't have that. If I had a crystal ball in February about where we bought those tractors from, and know that we weren't going to get them, we could have done something different. But a lot of this stuff is totally beyond our control. We could have a flood event next week that, we just don't know.
It is. And honestly, that's one reason why you will hardly ever get me nailed down to give anyone a time frame. And it's not because I'm trying to be wishy-washy. It's just because there are so many situations that can come up that you may have the best intentions to go tomorrow to Blacktop a Road. And you mean every word of it when you say, I'll be there tomorrow to Blacktop the road. But then in the middle of the night, you have a drain washout or you have a tree fall and you can't go. You don't get to Blacktop that road because you have to be over here in this other location.
Well, that's the reason I asked about the trucks, is because if we're having this much problem with these new trucks, then
and we are having a lot.
Let's do this. Do you want to make a motion to authorize him to solicit quotes and employ? Because it's not going to be over $30,000. We don't have a.
No.
I'm about to haul the black.
No, to haul the black. Yeah, just to haul.
This is for hauling it.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay somebody to put it down because we're saving $6,000 or $7,000.
And it depends on what they may charge you. Somebody may want as much to haul it as what they would put it down for. That's something. I don't know.
No, you're not going. It's not going to be $6,000 a mile difference. I wouldn't think.
Right. We could get the contract trucks. Honestly, the best way to go with that, in my opinion, would be just to contract through Mountain to use their contract trucks. That way, you would be directly. They will bill you directly. Mountain will for them.
Here's what you don't want to do. You don't want them to pad the price.
No, and they don't, because they are actually, I think that they do have a price for their contract trucks. I could go get the bid back here in just a second and look at that.
If they have already got a bid for the contract trucks.
Yes.
For the hauling, and we can't get their truck back on the road by Monday, we've already got a bid for it. I don't know that we don't need to authorize that, Frankie, do we? I don't think we do.
Maybe should just be able to hire the 2 contract trucks or 3, whatever.
Just call Mountain and see if the bid covers it, just have them haul it.
I'll do it. And
if you need 3 trucks to haul it to get it done, I want Bones Branch done this year. I want Barnshe finished. What else did you have over there, Brian?
New camp.
New camp over is one that Commissioner
See,
Booth's wanting, but then you,
Barnshe, we got a lot of pipes put in that. I mean, for them pipes to settle, you'll be tough to get Bones Branch in there because you got a lot of pipes put in there, ain't you, Fabian?
well, I think only the biggest thing, honestly, at Bones Branch is the pipe at the mouth of the hollow.
Yeah, those big 5
I
foot
think the
pipes
pipe
over
at the
there.
mouth of the hollow is the only thing, and really, we can get that. Even if I have to pull a crew in on Saturday, we can get that one done. My big thing is, here's the
Barnshe
thing.
don't like
When
what?
we go into the Phelps area blacktopping, from my personal honest opinion, I would like to have our 6 trucks and 6 contract trucks. If you guys would okay that, then I'll be able to lay down some blacktop.
Motion.
I don't think we need to. I mean, I think he's already got a bid for it. So, all right, moving on. All right, anything else, sir?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Stacy, Treasurer's business.
Acknowledge receipt of the treasurer's monthly financial statement for September 2021.
Is there a motion to acknowledge receipt of the Treasurer's monthly financial statement for September? Motion by who?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tackett. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes.
We had received $29,419.50 in direct money into our consolidated account that actually belongs to the sheriff's office. It's where they are providing security for Fish Trap Lake from May through September.
Who pays that?
It was actually the sheriff's office had billed the state, but where the sheriff's office uses our DUNS number,
Gotcha.
the Corps engineer put it in our bank account, and it
Is it-
actually belongs to them, so.
Is there a motion to authorize a check in the amount of $29,419.50 to the Pike County Sheriff's Office for funds received for Fish Trap Lake security from May to August of 2021?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robertson. Any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
And under additional treasurer's business, in your packets is the results of the September truck auction. Has anybody got any questions on those?
I think that was good.
Yes,
We did very well.
it was the best we ever done.
Should have bought the 5th Peterbilt.
We hadn't bought a dozer, we would have had money to do it.
Still had it.
Yeah, we had to have that too.
All right. Is there a need for executive session? Mr. Denny, please instruct the public and the members of the court on the relevant provisions of the Kentucky Open Meeting Law under KRS Chapter 61 as it pertains to the entry into executive session by a government entity.
Judge, it is permissible to go into executive session under KRS 61.810 under paragraph C to discuss proposed or pending litigation, and under paragraph F to discuss specific personnel.
Is there a motion to enter into executive session? Motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Booth. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson? Yes. Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes, we are in recess for executive session. We're trying to call the chair.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tackett. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. It is my motion to approve, it's my motion to amend the court order from September 21st, meeting order number 09.21.21.014 to read approval to hire Jerry Taylor and Jeff Wright as contract labor at $15 per hour effective 8/21/21, and their pay to run concurrent with payroll, and authorize a standing order for the treasurer to issue checks which will be reimbursed from the Trail Development Fund drawn down from coal severance tax. to approve accepting the resignation of Jesse Brainerd effective 9/10/21. Approval to hire Willis Brown as a heavy equipment operator at Road Lot 3 at a 5H rate of pay effective 9/27/21. Approval to hire Ethan Morris as a loader at Solid Waste Lot 1 at a 2H rate effective 10/4/21. Approval to terminate Byron Case effective 9/25/21. Approval to hire Christian Mounts as a weed mower at Road Lot 3 at a 3H rate of pay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Booth. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. All right, Department Supervisors' comments. Ms. Skaggs, anything from the Trail Office? Ms. Fannin, anything? Ms. Goff, how's the animal shelter doing? Any news we need to know about? All right, we have Mr. Spears from the Safety Office. No news is good news. All right. Mr. Fields, good seeing you here tonight. Mr. Jackson, anything from 911 or emergency management? Mr. Tackett, anything emergency management? Mr. Paul back there.
Mr. Paul.
It's been a long day, Paul. I just drew a blank.
Mr. Paul.
It's been a long day. It's been a long 2 weeks. And my blood pressure was through the roof yesterday, by the way.
It's a long day on your birthday every year.
If you saw what my blood pressure was yesterday, Doug, it was not good. Was it, Reggie?
No, it was not good.
It was not good.
It was not good.
And so anyway, Mr. Williamson, have you done anything on the estimate on that Phelps Community Center, turning the old courthouse into a community center? Have we got numbers on that? The renovations that we need to do to the Phelps Courthouse for turn that into a community center? All right, why don't you go ahead and get me a plan for the next court meeting so we can get started on that? Let's revise that so we can get that renovated. We can start hopefully by Christmas time, have it ready to be able to rent it or allow people to come in and use it. Okay. All right, Ms. Maynard, anything from the road department? Ms. Clevenger, Mr. Kaiser, Mr. Morley, Mr. Little, anything? Mr. Maynard? Colonel Down, anything from the county attorney's office?
I'll just reiterate, $1,000.
Good deal. Colonel, for some reason, I don't think that you were that short and succinct in the military. If your orders were that short and succinct, they would have certainly.
They're go forward, so it's real easy. Go forward.
So that's what they taught you in tanker school.
Go forward. That's what they taught me.
Don't stop.
I spent most of my time as a scout, so it was
Go forward.
go forward.
All right. And you're still here to tell about it. Anything from Deputy Judge Reggie Hickman?
The only thing I've got, Judge, is we're in the final phases of the admin phase for expansion of the landfill. We had 13 deficiencies that needed to be answered, and Jill Syntec is better than halfway through those. And then we'll move to technical phase and start the design
For the landfill
for the
expansion.
landfill expansion. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your hard work. Commissioner Robertson, we'll start with you in District 1.
I want to thank everybody that come out to the Flatwoods Saturday and participated in the cleanup. We didn't pick up as much garbage as we did in March, right, Jason?
3,000 some pound in March. I'm gonna say probably 300 pound this past Saturday.
So it's really working. Something's working up there. So that's good. And the other thing is, on this Mare Creek and Pike Floyd Holler, I think we need to, we're doing a lot of work on the road down there trying to put it back together, But what I understand, a lot of them vote in Floyd County, and they pay their taxes to Floyd County. And if it's in Pike County, they should be paying us, I would think. So I would like for Colonel to check on some of that with the, I guess we'd have to get with the PVA or Pike County.
So what we need to do, start with PVA's office, get the aerial maps. Let's look at, what plats of land we have there. Then we need to see if the county could probably work with Tawny to see, or PVA to see if tax bills are going from Pike County to those residents. And we'll need to take Mr. Little can get you a CR map showing the county route that's in the Pike County road system. We can overlay that probably with GIS. Tim, I guess GIS could do that, couldn't they? They can take the county route and overlay the property tax records and the ownership records from the PVA and the county clerk's office. And if we have people that live on the Pike County section of that road that are either paying taxes, start with that. If they're paying taxes to Floyd County, that needs to be fixed because we're spending a lot of money up there. Now, obviously, we'll be getting 87% of that reimbursed by FEMA and by the state on the storm damage, assuming we get a declaration. We still don't have that declaration, do we, Doug? Do you think that'll be forthcoming on the public assistance? I mean, I'm talking about government, for government entities. So we're going to eat every bit of it. Because I was thinking that there would be enough damage in other counties to. How much damage do you think total, all the damage? So now the county and those homeowners are going to have to eat it. Initially we thought it was going to qualify. So now you're saying it's not looking to qualify. That's a huge blow to the road department budget. So if we're not going to be able to get that money back from FEMA, I want to know something by the end of the week about a cursory opinion, Roy, about where they're paying taxes. That should be fairly easy to determine from the PVA and from the county attorney's records. They should have, be able to look at that.
See where the rest are to vote, Doug.
Let's just work on the taxes right now, and then we can go back and.
We just can't go in there and rebuild that road back every time it floods.
Not particularly, not if the property taxes are going to Floyd County.
Okay.
All right, so Roy, you can take care of that for us this week. At least start working on it. Thank you, sir. What you get that salary for?
Go forward.
Go forward. You can work overtime, you just don't get paid for it. All right, Commissioner Tackett.
Judge, there's a few things, Fabian, I just want to let the people know about the break off up there at Longfort. We did contact the state. Is that right?
I've contacted them.
And the judge's come on up.
I was just going to say, Judge, that Commissioner Tackett had asked me to call Mary also after you had. I called her, and she said that if they had lights available, that they would bring them up there, but she, at the time, and she's not got back with me, but at the time she thought that they did not have any lights available.
I talked to Paxton Weddington, the Pike County maintenance engineer, basically the same thing. They have let a bunch of those FEMA contracts for these embankment failures, I assume it's FEMA, but they've let a group of those embankment failures to a company. I can't remember the name of the company, but the completion date on those under the contract is not until July 31st of 2022. So they're working on these projects all around the district. I'm not sure what counties in the district they're working, but that company that got the contract, you know, I can't guarantee. We don't know. We don't have any control or any idea when they're going to get to those particular sites. I assume they do what we do, go in an area and try to get it fixed in that area before they move somewhere else.
And then the other one is Right Fork, Long Fork, that bridge. That's a state bridge, right? And we did contact the state and let
I've
them
called
know.
them on that one too.
Did you? Okay, all righty. So we got
That's
that.
the one you can see through the cracks in it.
Yes, yes.
State bridge.
Yes. Okay.
If the state saw one of our bridges like that, they would shut it down.
Well, there was cones out on the bridge last time we was up there. You remember?
'Cause I called them and told them about it.
Thank you, Judge. The cleanup that Ronnie was talking about this past weekend, we'll do that in any area. If you get somebody in the area who wants to head that up, we will bring bags and kind of help with what needs to be cleaned up. You can just contact Chuck through 437-6247. We're having the horse ride at Lick Creek the 16th. And they're having a side-by-side ride. It's going to meet not where the horses are, but it's going to come from Phelps, McCarr, Dorton, and wherever you want to start from. But that's some of the three places that they're wanting to have a starting point at. But you can ride a side-by-side from wherever you want to, as long as you can get to Lick Creek. Other than that, Judge, that's about it.
Yeah. Commissioner Booth.
Judge, I just was over on Blackberry the other day. The road department's really doing a good job getting Blackberry slowly put back together. Upper Blackberry especially it really is looking good. Also, I just wanted to once again thank Pete Runyon and them for getting all the tars out of Tug River down there. They've done an outstanding job, put a lot of work and effort into it down in that area. And also, I'd like to just remember, you know, it seemed like the Phelps community and all of our communities have lost a lot of people here lately, from accidents to COVID, everything else. So there's a lot of hurt in our community right now from loss of family members. So I'd just like to remember all those that's suffering and their loss. That's all I have now, Judge.
I want to just briefly address a couple of issues. Commissioner Robertson mentioned complaints about weed mowing. We had bought mowers in February. They didn't come in by June. We canceled the contract. We were able to get one mower from a different company in July. We got two more in August. We have no control over something. You would think if you buy something in February, that it should be there by May or June. It was supposed to be there in May. We got the tractors in. We started working on weed eating in Commissioner Booth's district. We had 3 mowers. We had 3 existing mowers. I think about all of those are completely worn out now and not even usable. So we've got 3 mowers to cut 1,000 miles of roads. If the finances are in good shape, we'll buy 3 more in the spring and hopefully have them. Hopefully the supply chain issue will be better. No guarantees. But we've gone through we've exceeded the road department equipment budget. We had some extra money, but we had to have snow plows and salters. We had to have the trucks. We have replaced at least 2/3 of the road department's equipment in 3 years, less than 3 years. We now have equipment we can get work done with, instead of unsafe junk that was falling apart and bleeding the county dry in finances. And I think Mr. Stacy would tell you that our maintenance costs to garage have gone down substantially. We're saving the taxpayers money. We didn't finance any of these pieces of equipment. We didn't bond a single piece of equipment except, I believe, we financed the compactor for the solid waste. And the paver. I think we got the paver at 0% interest, if my memory serves me correctly. Is that correct, Frank? It was low percentage. 2 point was lower interest rate. Those are the only two things that we financed, to the best of my recollection. We've replaced almost all of the solid waste fleet. And we've done it without raising taxes. Now, while people were complaining over in my area, Commissioner Robertson's area where we live, because the weeds haven't been cut, and up in Commissioner Tackett's area, they were cutting weeds in Commissioner Booth's. You have to start somewhere and you finish somewhere. We can't cut every mile of weeds in one day. Likewise, while we were cutting weeds over in Commissioner Booth's district, we started blacktop in Commissioner Tackett's. Tomorrow, the paving crew, weather permitting, will be over in Commissioner Booth's district. And let me just be clear about this. You have 3 county commissioners. Each county commissioner has the exact same amount of blacktop money. I have specified only 1 or 2 roads that I wanted to see paved. The commissioners live in those districts. I've left that completely up to their discretion. Each one will have the exact same amount of money this year, and they had the exact same amount of money last year. And I will say this, by the time we finish this fiscal year and what we appropriate next year, I think it's fair to say that this administration will have paved more miles of county roads than the last 3 administrations combined. And we're doing it not only with money that we've put together, but we're going after state resources. We got almost $1 million from the Bevan administration the first year we were in office. We had $350,000 for the Penny Street Bridge, $360,000 for Lower Brushy Blacktop, and in Rock House Mountain over in Commissioner Booth's district. We got $350,000. I may have mentioned emergency bridge replacement from Governor Beshear. We have almost $100,000 to pave Barnshee. We have maximized state resources. So if somebody says, well, our part of the county is not getting anything, your part of the county, wherever that may be, is getting the exact same amount of money as every other commissioner district. Now, when you spend $3 million on blacktop, that sounds like a lot of money when we really need about $200 million. You have 1,000 miles of county roads. These roads didn't get in this condition only since we've been in office. Those roads were way, way down the list in terms of the level of repair. We had 9 or 10 bridges that the state shut down that we have to replace, and we're in the process of replacing those bridges. But then you get hit with $1 million, $1.5 million in damage that FEMA is not going to reimburse us, any of it. We're having to eat that. If this fiscal court had not been financially responsible, the county wouldn't have had the money to pay to fix the roads on Blackberry, Pike Floyd Hollow, Mare Creek, Stone Cold, and these places. Because of our fiscal management, we can, as hard as it is, take a hit like $1.5 million and still keep functioning. Now, we have challenges going forward, but because of the hard decisions we've made, we've been able to absorb a lot of these blows. We've had a lot of bad things happen, and, just like Mr. Tackett handed out, at one time we had more declared emergencies. We were in the top 10 in the country, and I'm not sure we're not still there. We're looking for hazard mitigation grants. We're taking care of the folks up on Runyon's Branch. We're looking to try to get money to move a cemetery up on Left Fork of Island Creek that's fallen off. We're trying to get money for a lot of these problems, and we're looking to every source of revenue that we can, ARC, AML, EDA, rural development, any source of money that we can get. We're another issue, we're going to have to come up with the money. We're going to apply for a hazard mitigation grant to relocate the Blackberry Volunteer Fire Department. It's flooded twice in less than a year. We have no control over that. But we can't risk that the fire department's equipment being trapped or destroyed by a flash flood event. That's got to be fixed. And, we're trying to do this in a way that doesn't increase the tax burden on the residents of the county. And so far, we've been able to do that. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that this year, Pike County Fiscal Court will go 3 years in a row without raising taxes. The last administration raised property taxes twice. This court has done more with less than any court in eastern Kentucky. And we have money in the bank, and we're operating in the black. And can I guarantee it's always going to be that way? No, because pension costs are going up. You know, if we had another big storm, I mean, you know, we could get hit tomorrow with another catastrophic flood. It may not be covered by FEMA. I mean, what are the chances of getting hit by a storm only in Pike County that does $1.5 million to county roads, and no other county really gets that kind of damage? I mean, it's just bad luck. So we've got a lot of positive things going. We've got the tourism development. We're working on that. We're working on getting our industrial site moving forward. I mean, there's some good things coming, but you know, it's going to take time and work because it didn't get in this condition overnight. It's not going to be fixed overnight. But the county, in my opinion, is moving in the right direction. And not because of Ray Jones or these commissioners, because we've got a lot of hardworking, talented people, and I'm proud of the team that we've put together, from emergency management to the safety office, the animal shelter, the road department, the administration here in the court. We're doing things right. And I think if you look at the press, if you look at our audits, we're doing it transparently, and we're obeying the law, and we're doing it right by the book, the way it should have been done for many years in this county when it was not. You know, you heard R.J. Palmer earlier tonight talking about the fact that we lost our credit rating. Credit rating was taken away. I mean, that's inexcusable, and we're going to try to fix that. I can't give you a promise that we'll get the credit rating back, but we're doing everything possible to do that. And that will send a message. When we're trying to, we have to have our industrial site ready before we can try to start recruiting new businesses. We've already had some talks with some folks in the healthcare sector. But we can't start trying to recruit companies to the county when you don't have anywhere to put them. We have to have a building before you can, to show somebody. Our tax burden is lower than the cities. Our occupational tax is 1%, the cities is 2%. We've got a lot of good things going. You know, the new 460 is under construction. That was a project that I championed along with Leslie Combs. That will open up the entire eastern side of the county and connect us to the Coalfields Expressway in Virginia. That opens us up to a completely new corridor, and I think we'll start seeing business coming in from Hayside and Grundy and in southwestern Virginia, like we have seen business coming into Kentucky from Corridor G, US 119 into the South Williamson area. We have to focus on the South Williamson and Belfry area. We've got some of our biggest employers in the county tax base there. We've got ARH Hospital with 500 employees. We've got a large retail sector. And this fiscal court is committed to making sure that Belfry and South Williamson, Turkey Creek, and the northeastern side of the county is treated just as fairly. You know, a lot of times people will refer to in years past as that is the backside of the county. It's actually not. That's the part of the county that's helping prop up the entire tax base for all of Pike County because of the number of jobs there. And that area of the county, we'll be paving over there tomorrow. So when people say, well, this part of the county is not getting its fair share, every commission district gets the same amount of money appropriated. And they represent the same number of people in about the same geographic area. And I do think the commissioner systems work better than the magistrate system. You don't see the circus in this court that you saw at times in the past where it was making a mockery out of our county. You don't see that now. You see people trying to work together for the common good of every man, woman, and child in this county, not just worried about taking care of their little part of the county so they get reelected. Because I had a friend tell me yesterday, actually it was the county judge in Johnson County. You know, if they get a new factory in Johnson County, I'm happy for them. It's not that far with the roads we have now to drive to Johnson County. We have people driving from here every day to Toyota. We have people here driving to work in the mines in West Virginia. It's all made possible because of our road system. We have people now working from home, telecommuting. We have, depositions and mediations in my profession being done on Zoom, online. The pandemic has had obviously a lot of problems, but it's created a lot of new ways for people to do business. We have to be ready to take care of that. We are working on broadband. We have had a meeting recently with Gear Hart companies. It's amazing what they're doing and how much investment that company has made in Pike County. And a local company that, if you saw the investment they made, the facility that they have, it's remarkable. We are working on broadband. That's going to take a large infusion of money from the federal government to make it possible. There's also things like Starlink, the Elon Musk company that's putting all these thousands of satellites up, that really could be a game changer. Initially, it may be too expensive for some people, but for areas where it's going to be cost prohibitive to get fiber, that's an option for some people. There are some places that it will simply be too expensive with too few customers to get a private internet company to come in and do it. But we're working on that. There's a lot of things this court's doing on the trail system, on the industrial side, on broadband, on water and sewer, to try to make sure that we take care of the infrastructure. And I want to talk a little bit to close this out with Mountain Water. A friend of mine posted that it shouldn't be fall back on the taxpayers to pay for the bad decisions that were made, and I agree with that. I agree that we need to try to use some of this ARP money to help defray any surcharge that may be put on the Mountain Water customers. Can we say that we can avoid any type of surcharge? I don't think we can, because at this point we don't know what they're going to run into. But we have committed $1.3 million to start that process that will not come off of the ratepayers. But because of poor management, if you go 17 years without a pay raise, things get pretty tight. Well, Mountain Water District did that. They went 17 years without a rate increase. It ate up all their reserves. The pension costs went up. Health insurance for employees went up. Those are the kind of bad decisions that we can't afford to make here in Eastern Kentucky, and this court's not going to make them. We don't always agree on everything, as you can see tonight. But I think the one thing's true, this court's trying to do it for the right reasons so that my children, if they want to stay here, can have a future. People like Fabian Little's daughter, people like Greg Fannon's daughter who have good jobs here. Reggie Hickman's got a daughter, We've got people like Nee Jackson who's got a daughter that's in pharmacy school now. And, we've got smart, educated, industrious people here. We've just got to make sure they have an opportunity here. And that's what I think we all should want for Pike County, Kentucky, because I'm going to say this and I'm going to close. As goes Pike County, so goes Eastern Kentucky. If Pike County, Kentucky, with all we have going for us, doesn't prosper, there will not be another county in this region that prospers. And I include southern West Virginia and southwestern Virginia into that statement. If Pike County doesn't do well, as the linchpin county for this entire region, no other county in this region is going to do well. So I hope I'm not taking too much time, but it's been a very positive meeting. We've got a lot of business done here. I think you can sleep good tonight knowing your taxes are not going to go up by the fiscal court next year. With that being said, if there's any other business to come before the court, Mr. Sloan, would you honor us by doing the benediction, sir?
Father God, we thank you for this day. Father God, we thank you for the leadership. Father God, we thank you for them. Now, Father God, we ask that you let each and every one of us our homes. Father God, we lift those patients up with COVID right now. Father God, we just ask that you touch them in a healing way and give comfort to those, Father God, who have lost loved ones. We ask this in Jesus' name.
Amen. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Commissioner Roberts. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Booth. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson? Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes, we are adjourned.